Okay, I'm Brooke Busted, and I decided to do my research poster on how the reduction in primary forest cover, largely due to agricultural expansion, is negatively impacting biodiversity today. So first, we should probably start with the importance of the relationship between tree cover loss and climate change today. So this is one of the positive feedback loops of climate change, and that the loss of tree cover. Um, is loss of carbon sequestration. You're also probably adding carbon into the atmosphere even when you're removing these trees, either by burning or by heavy machinery. So you're losing potential to sequester carbon, and you're also adding carbon into the atmosphere by methods of removal. This research is looking at primary forests, which are considered ecologically irreplaceable due to their impact on biodiversity, carbon sequestration, and thus climate regulation, as well as ecosystem services. And though this significance is well known in ecology, we can still see a global trend of tree cover loss, largely due to agricultural expansion for profit, which we'll get into in a second. This research is seeking to look into the global primary forest cover loss and then looking in on certain regions to assess biodiversity. Uh, it's meant to indicate habitat disruption's contribution to population decline in endemic bird species, even under constant rates of primary forest loss. So when we get into the biodiversity half, we'll be looking at endemic bird species as a marker of biodiversity, but that'll come up later. To start, we should look at why this is important right now. We're approaching tipping points in the IPCC's climate change scenarios. So looking into some more efficient and cost-effective methods for reducing our emissions is ideal right now. So that would be preserving uh, forests of large biomass, which have a better chance of sequestering the amount of carbon that we need to sequester by preserving these old forests. And just to get an idea of what a primary forest is, they're undisturbed forests that have reached the final stage of succession. So in this little graphic down here, we can see that there are hundreds of years old trees, hundreds of years old forests that have accumulated the maximum amount of biodiversity or around there that they'll get. Um, and they're just old and they're undisturbed. They're not impacted by humans. So that's what we're assessing. And it's also important to note, just to get like an idea of the size that we're getting and also an idea of the data that we're looking at. This is tree cover over 5 meters in height. So all vegetation over 5 meters, they're massive, massive forests that are actually impacting carbon sequestration. It's not like they're small biomass. And for my start of my trend, you can see a decline globally over the past 20 years. To look at why this might be happening and where, we can look at the drivers of tree cover loss, which are largely shifting agriculture, forestry, commodity-driven deforestation, and wildfires. So just to start, commodity-driven deforestation is, think, large-scale agricultural operations, while shifting agriculture is more so the small-scale agricultural operations. Forestry is the farming of trees for harvesting or for sale of wood or whatever they're doing for it. And all of these are contributing by use of large monocultures, which are destroying soil health and depleting moisture in the soil, which are contributing to wildfires because they're unable to accumulate any sort of moisture to prevent wildfire spread. And if we look at the continent trends across the world, we can see a positive trend in South America and Oceania and Africa. But South America is just far, far ahead of the rest of the continents. So looking in, we can probably guess that it's probably Brazil with the highest tree cover loss, and this is because almost 80% of Brazil is the Amazon rainforest. Their top export reported by the OEC was soybeans in 2022. I think this was followed by some sort of mineral extraction. I don't remember exactly which one, but it was 10 billion behind this. So this was by far their top export, at least for farming, for agriculture, and across the board. The expansion of agricultural land is disrupting habitat for endemic bird species. We can go into this. This study that I chose from the IUCN is using endemic bird species as a marker of biodiversity. And this is because they're particularly sensitive to disturbances. So they're a good indicator for the rest of the system, the rest of the food web around them. Um, and here we can see that the majority of bird species are in the least concern category. But when we look at population trend for these bird species, the majority of them across the board are decreasing. And if we go one step further to look at this again, the majority of them in the least concern category are decreasing. So this might indicate um, a possible shift in their concerning categories, which if this trend continues of population decline, they'll continue going on to more severe categories and eventually lead to extinction in the most extreme circumstance. So moving forward with my conclusion, tree cover loss has been increasing in tropical regions over the past 2 decades. We see this global trend, and while looking at the continent data, and while looking at South America's data, habitat area is crucial for species populations. And this is because disturbance of habitat, either by significant loss or just any loss in general, is going to trigger a response in which they keep on moving to look for habitat that's suitable for them. But after a certain extent, you're not going to be able to find a habitat that's suitable in close enough range that it's feasible for them to be able to move in time without dying. And these effects, again, we're seeing in the endemic bird species data by their decreasing population. So they're not able to keep up with this loss. And that's my presentation and where my data is from, the UMD and WRI, as well as the IUCN. And that's all.